And Spielberg, who's all serious business, he's like, hey, you're messing with our marketing campaign here.
He yelled at him?
I'm sure he did yell at him.
You can't make up just a fake... Look at that smile. He's going to give him a smooch.
Spielberg doesn't yell at people. He has people to do that for.
Okay, that's gross.
Like his whole thing is like, shucks, I'm just a nice guy. I don't know. Give me a popsicle. And then he leaves the room and...
Give me a popsicle.
A team of people like beat the shit out of you. But then Tom Cruise has his own people. So the Tom Cruise people and the Spielberg people beat each other up.
Here we go. 1, 2.
Make sure try this mashed potatoes. E.T. would like a Reese's Piece. This child robot's out here looking for love. 2 mice fell in a bucket of cream.
The Oasis is where we go gunting. Bingo, Dino, DNA. Indiana Jones and his Greaser's son find ancient aliens from outer space.
So we made this change to our podcast. Talking Spielberg until school reconvenes. We're ambling on bikes, our parents got a divorce. This is the temporary load-bearing beams.
Welcome to Load Bearing Beams presents the Summer of Spielberg. I'm Matt Stokes.
And I'm Lacey Roth.
The Summer of Spielberg trudges along. No, it doesn't trudge. It marches
It's on
forward.
Skates. Oh,
It's on skates.
sailing through.
Oh, a pebble. No, you dodged it. You're still smoothly going on the boardwalk.
Or if you work at Sonic, oh no, a peppermint. And then your skates hit it, and then your thumbs go through the blast.
Oh, shit. You're not getting a dollar tip.
Yeah, I did. Because
Well,
like,
you were the
I
best.
suffered a lot of injury in that fall.
Lacey's time at Sonic is like her number one. That's her glory days. Bruce Springsteen would be singing about that. She could burn on those skates on the roller Sonic. That's what the song would be about. So it's the summer. The summer fucking sucks. We're so miserable. It's so hot. But the last 2 episodes are on pace to be our most listened to episodes ever. So that's fun. This was a good idea.
Yeah, either Spielberg rocks or you guys are extra bored. Either way, it's a win tie.
It's a win tie. We are the win tires. And this is an episode on Minority Report. You know, we've done the first episode we did was on E.T. Then we did a movie that was 10 years later, basically Jurassic Park. And now we're jumping ahead another 10 years for Minority Report.
This will be an interesting experiment because it's our lead. I mean, it's very Spielberg, but it's not his like core 4 or whatever his like
it's not
blockbuster events.
But it is interesting to think like it was intended to be like I think they expected it would be.
Those gloves and the sliding.
And I think it's one of his best movies. I love it.
It is fantastic.
But you look at it like how could this have been like a 4-quadrant blockbuster like Jurassic Park? It's such a dark movie.
Well, and yeah, like what are the kids gonna get out of this? What's the merch like? I don't know.
No merch at all.
We're gonna shave our heads and be oracles.
But I wonder if they thought like there would be theme park rides based on like the vertical cars and the car factory. I don't know. But it's just
interesting.
You're merging Tom Cruise, biggest movie star in the world, with Steven Spielberg, biggest director in the world, for the first time ever. What insane Boffo Bobo is going to happen?
What do those things mean?
Boffo box office.
Oh.
All right. Well, yeah. So that's what we're doing. But before all of that, I'd like to do a little call to action up at the front of the episode to all of these new listeners that we have.
Who do you like more, me or Matt? No big deal.
Hashtag
Lacey.
That's it. That's the only option.
It's the only thing you need.
So listen, if you want to support us or if you just want more of us, a perfect way to do that is to follow us on TikTok and or Twitter. And both of those places, we post a lot of bonus content that you won't find in our audio feed or even on YouTube, like Lacey's coloring videos or like my video explaining who the guy is who did the Mr. DNA animation.
It's
or
important lore.
Yeah, just little bonus 2 or 3 minute episodes. It's like the special features of the DVD that is our show.
And on TikTok, you can just also to the Load Burn Beams channel, you can request your whatever character in cinema or beyond that you'd like me to transition a coloring page into, and then I'll send it to you for free because I'm kind of a great person.
Exactly. So load.bearing.beams on TikTok or Matt Stokes 9 on TikTok, and then on Twitter, loadbearingpod or Matt Stokes 9. All the stuff's in any of those places.
Please,
and I also
subscribe and follow and push things. Just push a lot of buttons, not the report button. But if you see a button next to our accounts, like probably push it.
Yes.
Yeah.
No mayo means extra mayo.
You do that.
I just wanted to specifically call out those two places as ways to get bonus content from us. Even if you follow us on YouTube, I don't put some of the short stuff on YouTube. And the other thing is, I noticed we have a lot of listeners on the Overcast app. And Overcast, as far as I can tell, does not let you do listener reviews. So if you're listening on the Overcast app, here's what I'd like to say to you. Go to our YouTube video for this episode.
Get your life together.
What are you fucking thinking? Hey, I use Downcast for my podcast.
And I do because you told me to.
I don't use Apple Podcasts, so I get it. But go to the YouTube video for this Minority Report episode. The link is in the description, and just leave a comment saying, "Hey," that's all. And then maybe add, "I'm an Overcast fella."
Hi.
And then we'll be best friends. That's all.
That's neat.
We've been doing this podcast since 2017, although from 2021 to 2023, we didn't do anything. But last year, we came back and really seriously invested in the podcast. We do an episode every week. We talk for 90 minutes or so about a movie. Spielberg movies this summer. Minority Report is the movie we're talking about today.
God damn, is it weirder than I ever remembered. I just remembered being like cutting edge and had some interesting ideas. Didn't know. 80% of it was a surprise.
When was the last time you'd seen it?
The time it came out?
In theaters?
Yep.
Yeah? Really?
Yeah.
Did you like it back then?
Yeah. I really like Tom Cruise. Mm-hmm. The year was
2002.
Okay. Yeah. I was into going to the movies at that age.
When Tom Cruise
had my own car.
When Tom Cruise got a little silly and jumped on the sofa a few years after that, were you aware of that? Did it change your...
I was aware of that, but I'd still see Tom Cruise movies. He's just good. His chaotic energy is probably what makes him good. His intense, whatever it is, he makes you feel something. He's never boring, I don't find.
But it did hurt his career. Like it actually did. But right here in 2002, he is still like at the very top of the world.
I wanted to ask, where is 9/11 at this point?
It's the previous year, 2001.
Okay, that makes
Though
sense.
I assume this was...
oh, God, I do that to myself all the time because I graduated in 2002 and 9/11 happened when I was a senior. I forgot and always forget that there are 2 years that happen when you are in school.
Yep.
The one that starts, the one that finishes. I am a smart lady.
I'm looking up when production on this movie happened. Did it happen before or after 9/11?
I really wish you would have done this research.
Before March 22nd to July 18th, 2001.
I wonder if they had to change any items. It was dealing with interesting stuff enough to, I could see them maybe needing to reel back any kind of like slanderous talk about the government.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I think that I love this movie. I think it's one of his very best. I think I love this movie.
It's very creative. I mean, he deals with a lot of, he's a creative guy.
Yeah, he's got some.
But he deals with a lot of things that already exist. And this is probably just showing how much I don't read sci-fi and stuff. I'm sure this is all well-tread area. But
you mean
the precog idea.
The question of free will versus determinism. What does the future mean? Can you actually, is there such thing as the future? If there is a future, does that mean we have free will? Will we do something just because we're told to do it? And then the nature of police force and what we would trade off for safety in the name of personal liberty.
That's interesting that's your takeaways. I was wrestling the entire time with like the morality of just because these three individuals have this gift, should they have to live this kind of existence
and then
in order to provide? But that was as soon as I saw those people floating in that thing, and I instantly thought of 11, and that's probably a good comparison anyway because she also
who's 11?
11 from Stranger Things. Sorry about that. Also had was orphaned and then experimented on and floats in water for shit for some reason. And like, okay, you have this skill. What is your duty to the rest of existence to use it? Are you a factory now? Do you lose your personhood because you can do this thing?
Does society have the right to decide that you should basically be enslaved if in the name of that we're able to prevent all this crime, but then is preventing crime a net good in and of itself? Like, what are you doing to people's actual personal liberty? Crime is a symptom of something else, but this movie does make it like
pushing it off. And also what you do to these criminals afterward, completely not giving them a trial. They are haloed and silenced for the rest of their lives. That part seems to be the most precarious to me, is just like, okay, and now you don't get to speak or exist. Why even keep them?
Well, the thing to do to me has always seemed, all right, you prevented them from doing the crime, put them away for 25 days or whatever, and then let them out.
Just see what happens.
And the book, the short story that this is based on kind of deals with this. And in this movie, it does too. Like, John Anderton is told he will commit this murder, and that stops him from committing the murder.
Right. And
what if you told all the people that they were going to commit the murder?
And that's what he ends up finding out, right? That he fixes the system in a sense, but or at least like that could have been the fix, and then everything goes back to normal, except for now you launch from the sky and break windows and go, guess what you're about to do? Mm-hmm. I know! And he's got the knife in his hand. But that doesn't get rid of the other problem, which is he realizes in this experience that those people floating in a vat are people.
Well, I know society wouldn't care about that. The question is, should we? And yes, of course you should. And as you see with Agatha, once she gets to like go and not have to run anymore and calm down, she's like, oh, you're just a normal, healthy person.
Should we get into the movie maybe?
We should. I mean, we're all over the place. We generally do that.
We do that.
Yeah, we usually do predictions on the show, but we're not going to be doing it during Summer of Spielberg, except for the E.T. episode, because whenever I mentioned the movie title E.T. to Lacey, she would go, ew. So I wanted to get her to predict so we could hold her accountable.
We did.
But yeah, we're just not going to do the predictions for the rest of the summer because for the most part, we know these movies and like these movies.
Right. I also don't like to do the predictions.
Lacey doesn't like
Which is funny to not do it for Minority Report. Wait, I guess they're not predictions, are they? All right.
My head was fucking spinning in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep thinking about this movie. And like, so what are they seeing? Because they're not seeing the future because they stop it from happening. So what are they seeing?
Well, I know this is the problem with changing the future. What did you change? And do they not just keep all for all eternity seeing shit?
Yeah.
But that's the thing that's where they carve out a little space for that is they only see crime. But they see crime.
They see murder.
They only see murder, not rape. They don't do rape.
Murder is different because it messes with the metaphysics of reality.
Got it. Yeah. People are totally fine after rape. Right. But I do find it interesting. Like, no, people are smart enough not to premeditate anymore. I love that little moment.
The movie is making a deliberate choice to make it murder and to make it crimes of passion. And the only ones you see are like well-to-do white people. A guy discovers his like, you know, there's no crime that's a representation or murder that's a representation of societal ills or anything like that.
That would distract and make you have to actually deal with stuff.
That would invite you, the viewer, to ask other questions.
Right.
But you do notice in this movie, they're spending a lot of money and effort to stop murder from happening and not trying to clean up other things wrong with society. And also, in trying to stop murder from happening, they are traumatizing a generation of children by just breaking into the houses with dozens of men from the sky.
Yeah, at any moment, because of the greater good of us knowing what's happening in this apartment complex. Also, sucks when you live in one of those, what are they called? Government, like the ones where government housing. Mm-hmm. I'll bet it happens a lot there.
Yeah.
For reasons we're not discussing.
Right.
So just all the time people are dropping.
You think
from
there's
the
a cleanup
sky.
crew that comes in later? Hell no.
Right. Well, it like it's so common that a spider comes and scans. If I had a fucking baby, a newborn, and a spider came and opened its fucking lid, I'd be mad.
Just those spiders.
I can imagine.
Just those spiders. It's like, so society has changed in such a way that at some point we passed a law saying, yeah, we can have these little drones come into your house and scan you.
What do you do with eyeless people? What do you do?
What do you do?
I don't need whisper at me.
The story that this was based on was called The Minority Report. It's a short story, maybe a very, very short novella. It's from 1954, and Philip K. Dick wrote it. Philip K. Dick is a legendary sci-fi author whose works were turned into movies like Blade Runner, Total Recall, A Scanner Darkly, The Adjustment Bureau, The Man in the High Castle, Paycheck.
Oh, wow.
And I had never read Minority Report until this morning. It's very interesting.
This morning, that's how fast this man reads.
But we need to check in with our friend Steven Spielberg.
Please, look at him looking like Steve Jobs. I'm standing this Steve.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at the Times magazine, that Times cover that says The Players, and it's got 3 nerds on it.
Yeah, we're looking at Steven Spielberg, David Geffen, and Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Okay.
Steven Spielberg made 2 movies in 1993. He made Jurassic Park and Schindler's List. It's basically the apex of his career. He has his biggest hit in Jurassic Park, or, one of his biggest hits, and then also the movie that finally wins him the Oscar he so desired and makes people take him seriously as a filmmaker.
That's why he's got this black turtleneck on.
That's why. So he doesn't make another movie for 4 years. Now, what is he doing during that time? He is building up the movie studio Dreamworks. He gets together with David Geffen, who is the legendary music mogul and a billionaire, and Jeffrey Katzenberg, the guy who was recently ousted from the Disney company, who ran Disney's film studios and is given credit, maybe not so deserved, or maybe deserved, people will disagree, for spearheading the Disney Renaissance. He is basically let go from Disney months after their very biggest hit, The Lion King, comes out, and a movie that he takes a lot of personal credit for. So these 3 guys get together and they're like, we're going to start a movie studio. There hasn't been a movie studio started in this town since 1935. And the press goes wild. They're like, this is going to be great. These 3 guys, there's going to be a new Jurassic Park and a new Lion King every year. Are you kidding me?
Do you think they were at a table and someone said, what a good team. Teamwork makes the dream work. Got it.
Do you want the real answer?
Yep.
All right. So I've brought up this book before, The Men Who Would Be King by Nicole Laporte. I'm using this as my source. They announced they were doing a studio before they had a name for it, and Steven Spielberg and somebody else were just scribbling on a piece of paper, and Spielberg said teamwork, and then his guy wrote down makes the dream work, and then Spielberg crossed it out and put Dreamworks.
I just said, so I guessed it?
You guessed it, yes.
I thought you were going to tell me how wrong I was.
No.
You could have been excited for me.
I mean,
eat shit. No.
You're never going to be happy with the way I react.
Oh, I will.
You're never going to.
I love it. I love the way that you are.
Thanks. I mean, why is it a big deal that they're building a studio? Can you tell me, what is a movie studio?
I mean, it's just like a network of resources, right? I mean, that's why it works when it's really old, because you've got banks who are already invested in you, probably multiple. You need so much to make a movie happen. It just seems like connection and just being a founded company. I mean, are they like a contractor? Not are they what would you describe what they do? They have their hand in every aspect of it, or they just fund it?
So the fund, that is more than anything, is they're the bank.
They're the bank.
Yes, they are. They invest in they finance movies, and then.
But where did they get that money, Matt? Is it literally made of a board or a bunch of people who own that thing? DreamWorks. I'm sorry. Paramount. Mm-hmm. It's just a bunch of people. We are Paramount. We all have money. We are the money. Or are these just regular company who has ties and banks that they use for the funding?
Yeah, in Paramount's case, that's a super old company that is publicly traded, so that's where the money comes from.
Oh.
And from the accumulated value of all your assets. With DreamWorks, it's these 3 guys going out and raising a shitload of money, including $500 million from Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen, and they all put up their own money too. And studios, studios are different from production companies in that studios hire and pay the production companies to make the
I was
movies.
thinking of them as a production company, right? Sorry, studios.
And also theoretically distribute the movies, market the movies. But they didn't just want to be a movie studio. They wanted to be a TV studio and a music company and games and all this kind of shit.
Calm down. This is your typical fucking bro who's really good at one thing, stays in his lane, and he's amazing at it, and thinks you know what, I could solve healthcare. Just get a think tank together. Calm down.
And Jeffrey Katzenberg specifically does this over and over and over again. He comes up with an idea. He raises tons and tons of money. Everybody gets really excited. He gets a lot of really famous people on board with him. And he's like, all right, step 1, this. Step 3, profit. What's step 2? Huh? No.
Don't tell me no.
Because a few years ago, he did this again with his company, Quibi.
Quibi.
Do you remember Quibi?
Kind of. I don't remember what they did, though.
They do quick bites, entertainment in quick bites. Get this. You can watch something on your phone. The answer is Vine, so TikTok? No.
It's Quibi.
It's Quibi. We pay really famous people to make the content.
Ew. So it's Cameo.
Well, but it's like it's basically if we make movies and TV shows, but for your phone and chopped up into really small segments.
Oh my god! Yeah, like there's like scammy things like that where like you have to buy every 10 minutes of it. It's like particularly in the. I'm trying to think of who does this, but I always watch YouTube people who break down the scammy ones. That it's usually vampire and werewolf related, a lot of fantasy.
Are this is stuff you watch? These aren't games?
Right. No, these are 10-minute movies that all string together to make one big movie.
Huh.
They're Quibbies.
And Quibi was like this spectacular failure that happened so fast. You had the entire story. And Dreamworks wasn't necessarily a failure, but there are a lot of parallels in that they're...
But did Dreamworks not take a while to fail?
It took a while to fail, and you can ultimately say...
It was the studio for a
fail?
certain thing. I mean, it's synonymous with what I picture that animation style to be.
Yeah, and the animation side is the one successful area, like unquestioned success, but they were also trying to be a live action studio and a music company and make computer games
that came out on DreamWorks.
Well, what's funny is like David Geffen, who was, the music powerhouse of the 70s and 80s. Now he has his own company. He just signs all his acts from the 70s and 80s. And it's like, I just signed Boy George to a $20 million record deal. Like, Boy George.
Yeah, that's a man, George.
Or no, not Boy George. George Michael.
George Michael. Okay.
But still, it's like everyone's like, yeah, they're your famous friends, but they don't make like hit music anymore.
Right. How are you going to pay him back?
And Spielberg, last week we were talking on Jurassic Park about how in like 93, as he's prepared to make Jurassic Park, he has his hands in so many pots. He's producing all these animated shows for Warner Brothers. The company Amblin is producing all these animated movies. He's directing Hook and Always and Empire of the Sun and producing movies for his friends. And the Universal executives like, man, you gotta chill out.
You're being a lot.
Yeah, and you said you could really relate to that.
Yeah.
He doesn't stop doing that. He's always like he's got a wandering eye. He can never focus on what he's doing. And he says like, that's my strength. If I focus on what I'm doing, I get in my head about it.
Oh, okay. I don't agree. I mean, I feel like I never have the luxury of getting to be super focused. I feel like there are two different reasons why I overcommit. One of them is financial, and just when it rains, it storms, unfortunately, and I just go ahead and say yes. I don't over say yes, but if I were being nice to myself, I'd say yes, less, but I still never take on too much that I can't actually put out something good, because the shame of that would be more than I could bear. Or if someone needs something, or if like there's a volunteer thing with my kids stuff, I always end up, okay, my kid's in volleyball. Okay, I'm the assistant coach. How'd that happen? Okay, my kid's in theater. I'm painting all the sets. When did that happen? That shit just creeps in, and I know I don't have time for it, and I fucking do it anyway.
The difference between you and Steven Spielberg is that he seems to like fall in love with an idea, and just like he smells a pie out the window and flies toward it. Which is what happens with Minority Report, and I'll detail how that happened. But
so now I'm just picturing him, sniffing a pie,
like flutter, flutter.
Little feet.
As he's directing Schindler's List in Poland at night, he's heading over to his trailer and helping supervise post-production on Jurassic Park via satellite.
All he's a bad husband. How many kids does he have?
He has, I think, 7 kids.
That's
he also,
too many.
In these 4 years that he takes off, he also he gets remarried. He and his new wife adopt several kids, and they each have kids from their previous marriage. And it seems like this is when he tries to become a good family person.
Okay,
and by all accounts does.
Okay, just don't experiment on fucking kids who need to be adopted in the first place. I'm sure she's lovely. I'm sure they're fine, but I don't know. Nothing takes the place of a dad who's around.
When he asked his wife Kate Capshaw if he could start a movie company with Jeffrey Katzenberg, she's like, okay, but you cannot turn into Jeffrey Katzenberg, because I know he's a business psycho who works 24 hours every day.
Well, then what was Steven before? He's just a different kind of psycho. He's a movie psycho.
Yeah, but he's like, you got to be home at 5:30 every day, Steve.
That's what he was managing before?
That's what he needs to turn into. You need to come home and be with us and these kids every day.
Damn kids.
So, the idea with DreamWorks is we got Steven fucking Spielberg and we got Jeffrey Katzenberg. We're going to make a Jurassic Park every year and a Lion King every year. And it's just going to be nothing but hits. And this is how the press reports it.
Got it.
But weirdly, Steven Spielberg kind of decides at that point, I'm not going to do big movies anymore. I mean, he does, but the days of his unquestioned mega blockbusters is kind of over, save for Saving Private Ryan and Indiana Jones 4. And he doesn't commit to only working for DreamWorks. He still has commitments to other studios, like he's going to make The Lost World Jurassic Park for Universal, and he's got his damn wandering eye. Instead of developing projects for DreamWorks, he'll hear of something like another studio's got something, so he just gets DreamWorks to partner with that studio, which means when the movie like Saving Private Ryan is a giant hit, DreamWorks has to share all the rewards.
But they wouldn't have had a big giant hit if he didn't get them involved. Why does that matter?
Because rather than focusing on developing his own idea that they can own entirely, he's basically just going out and looking for stuff.
These were their fucking ideas.
So we're looking at some of their early movies. We've got the Talking Bird comedy Pauly. We've got Ants. We have The Prince of Egypt. We have Mouse Hunt. We have Amistad.
Okay, but Ants just suffers from coming out right around Bug's Life, right?
Before A Bug's Life, and that's its own fucking story where Katzenberg met with John Lasseter, who told him we're going to make this bug movie, and he's like, sounds interesting. And then his passion project is The Prince of Egypt, and then he finds out that Pixar's releasing A Bug's Life on the same day as The Prince of Egypt, and he's like, you can't do this to me. So he pushes up production of their bug movie to make it come out first. Yeah. It's its own fascinating little story.
All right.
So DreamWorks has a bunch of hits. They have their animation studio that produces Shrek, which is the big giant franchise they've been looking for. And they have hits like Saving Private Ryan, Gladiator, American Beauty, Castaway. But all of these movies, they're sharing with other studios. And more than anything, studios are giant companies that require a lot of money to run. And the reason studios are able to do it is because they have a back catalog. You have, you know, not just movies, but TV shows that are just continually bringing in money.
Passive income.
If you're the studio that made Seinfeld, you're just getting hundreds of millions of dollars every year from selling Seinfeld to different TV stations around the country, or later to Netflix or on DVD. And they're just not getting any of this stuff because they're brand new. Right. And that's basically what ultimately leads it to not falling apart, but basically just getting sold to another studio. But Steven Spielberg, Jan de Bont, the director of Twister, and we recorded a commentary on Twister. He directs a movie called The Haunting for DreamWorks, and Spielberg produced Twister, so they got to know each other there.
Do we like that one, The Haunting?
I watched it recently, and it sucks.
We don't like it.
We don't like it. He and Spielberg are apparently on a plane to ILM frequently. And apparently lots of business happens on these plane trips.
I feel like I just heard a story about something happening because of a plane trip.
This is just where these business guys are forced to just do nothing but talk to each other. And this is where the real stuff happens. Yeah. And de Bont says he's been trying to adapt Minority Report for a long time. And Fox is interested, but they're not so sure. And he says, if I could get Tom Cruise on board, then they'll give me the green light. Spielberg, you're good friends with Tom Cruise.
Are you?
Tom Cruise and Steven Spielberg are good friends. They're neighbors. But they've never worked together. And Spielberg talks to Tom, and they go to Fox, and Spielberg will be involved in a producer. And Fox says, we'd love to give you the green light if Spielberg directs, not de Bont. And so de Bont steps away and produces the movie because he's...
Ouch.
Yeah, but he says he's like happy that the movie will get made.
Okay.
And so that's why Spielberg directs Minority Report. And as such, it becomes a co-production between DreamWorks and Fox. But still, a Spielberg Tom Cruise movie, a giant action sci-fi blockbuster, this is gonna be the biggest fucking movie in history. Tom Cruise at the time, biggest star in the world, making both like serious art movies, serious movies for serious directors like Eyes Wide Shut and Magnolia, but also he's turning movies like Jerry Maguire into huge hits.
Well, and trippy movies like Vanilla Sky.
And he has his franchise in Mission Impossible. Just the biggest star in the world. Every time I watch Minority Report, I'm like, he looks so young. He's 41 years old.
Yes. He looks like tiny baby Cruise. He looks like Top Gun.
I know. And it's not, it's far away from Top Gun, but he looks closer to Top Gun here than he does to... Until
he starts getting forehead wrinkles, he just looks like that. He's just clean slate right on the forehead.
Yeah.
He looks like the first Mission Impossible Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Which is upsetting. You better put bangs on your face, Tom Cruise, so I can respect you.
So the movie, it's a hit. It's a solid hit, but it's not the giant.
But at least they don't have to be awkward neighbors. That could have been rough.
I think it becomes rough once Tom Cruise dances on the sofa because he was promoting War of the Worlds. And Spielberg, who's all serious business, he's like, hey, you're messing with our marketing campaign here.
He yelled at him?
I'm sure he did yell at him.
You can't make up just a fake. Look at that smile. He's going to give him a smooch.
Spielberg doesn't yell at people. He has people to do that for.
Okay, that's gross.
Like his whole thing is like, shucks, I'm just a nice guy. I don't know. Give me a popsicle. And then he leaves the room and
give me a popsicle.
A team of people like beat the shit out of you. But then Tom Cruise has his own people. So the Tom Cruise people and the Spielberg people beat each other up. The movie made $132 million in America, 360 worldwide. Like, yeah, fine. But they're expecting Jurassic Park. And they didn't get it. But people liked it, and
where were the dinosaurs?
And we like it, and I think it's one of Spielberg's like very best movies. So
there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
It's very weird. It has such a mixture of like completely straightforward shit that you understand mixed with what is this about? But you do see like the little seeds of I don't know, other futuristic stuff. I haven't seen Ready Player One in a long time, so I don't know. But like this people really have a weird idea of how long it takes for infrastructure to change. Like, I know it was 2002 when he did this, but 2054, he's 50 years old, right? He understands how long it takes to become 50.
But Lacey,
why would there be circle roads?
Okay, but go back in time 50 years from 2002, there weren't like interstate highways. Like cities looked entirely different.
Yes, but there were dirt roads where a car went parallel straight on a road. And then there became gravel roads where a car went like this on the road. And then there became fucking cement roads. But it didn't go from like, we can only do this. Now we can only do this. Now we go upside down. I'm sorry. Cars that drive the other way.
I think he cares way more about just what will look cool.
Well,
than what do I actually think is going to happen.
It was cool to look at.
It is awesome to look at.
Fine.
I think this movie's actually kind of like Jurassic Park. Yes.
How are you a pedestrian in this world? You can't get anywhere. You can't be homeless. Can't be a pedestrian.
Presumably, there's still regular roads. And in DC, they seem to be building up now. Because, in DC, we've been to DC. There's a height ordinance. There are no buildings that can be taller than, I think, the Washington Monument.
Good for them.
There's skyscrapers in this one.
That is weird.
But that's kind of a utopian vision of the future is like, hey, we're finally going to build up because now there's a whole system in place to prevent like zoning laws to prevent dense housing by building up because nobody wants that, but it would like help everybody. We have an incredible housing shortage. Why don't we just build taller apartment buildings? No, that'd be ugly.
Yuck. You know what? And those are the same people who just love tent cities.
What was I saying? I think it's a lot like Jurassic Park in that it's based on a lesser book. It's based on a short story in Minority Report's case and a novel in Jurassic Park's case that are very concerned with these philosophical sci-fi ideas. And I think Spielberg is way less interested in them and just what could be like really cool to put on screen. But they're still there. But I think he's a lot less interested in these questions.
Doesn't make you think too hard. He just gives you like, that's new.
But they're there if you want them.
They're there if you want them.
The primary screenwriter on this film was Scott Frank. He's the driving force behind the screenplay. He toiled for a long time on the screenplay, and Spielberg is always very involved in his screenplays, although he rarely takes screenwriting credit. But at the same time that this script was being developed and Spielberg had signed on to direct the movie, because Spielberg always signs on to multiple movies at once, and it's always like, yeah, you may have signed on for the movie, but does that mean it's going to get made? He's also developing the movie AI Artificial Intelligence, which was a Stanley Kubrick project that he'd been working on since the 70s. And when he died, Steven Spielberg said, I want to take that over and make that for Stanley. And for the first time since Poltergeist in 1982, Steven Spielberg is literally writing the screenplay for AI. And what he tells Scott Frank is, hey, buddy, it's a race between you and me. Whoever finishes our screenplay first, that'll be the movie I make. So AI, of course, gets made first.
Oh.
And Scott Frank thinks Minority Report will never get made, but eventually they make it. They make it. So just, I think this is a very well-written movie that has to balance so many different tones and genres, and also be like a solid little murder mystery on top of everything else. And I think it is. I think it works.
I do too.
That is our history on Minority Report. We are now going to proceed to talking about the film itself.
Does this look like a bunny's vagina? I was full of water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the movie opens, the studio fanfares have this weird desaturated blue, so right away you're disoriented by this world. Why does it look like this? Why is everything washed out? Why is there this ultraviolet light on everything? When I was a teenager, I assumed I just had a bad Blu-ray. But yeah, I mean, what do you think they're trying to say with the way it looks?
Well, it's supposed to look like a precog site, right? Like this might be the studio in the future. I guess they're just trying to say that perception is the point of this movie.
Even for the stuff that's not the precog visions, everything kind of looks hyper strange.
Because like, what is reality? Yeah, I guess. I don't fucking know. You got thoughts?
I think that it's trying to make you feel disoriented. Things look simultaneously familiar, but just off. Like this first scene where we're getting the vision of the murder happening in like a house that is, you know, classical. I don't know what the architecture is, not brownstone, but something like that. And so
Tudor. Something like
yeah, something like that. And on the street, it's like a cobblestone street, and there's mounted cops and everything.
Yeah, well, but they look like none. I've never seen one on a neighborhood street, so maybe this is more of like a thoroughfare kind of street. You just don't know that, so it's it's jarring. You almost think there's going to be these weird, whimsical things you don't expect, or kind of spooky things you don't expect throughout the movie. But then you're like, okay, no one's freaked out by these. This is just cops on horse. It's fine.
But so much of this movie, I mean, especially as I watched it the second time,
isn't that wild that there are both still cops on the street and the kind of highway and car system that they show? How those two things exist at the same time is very bizarre to me.
Specifically, they're cops on horses.
Which is like the oldest form, or maybe there just aren't like regular chill patrolling cars. So because they cut out that middle car, that regular car we're all used to, they just have this kind of car.
No, see, I assume the horses is like specific to this neighborhood. That's the charm of this historical area.
Yeah.
It's like this weird, I'm paying to.
I don't think like Colonial Williamsburg or something. I don't think every neighborhood's got horses. This is clearly like an upscale place. It just made me think of like DC or something. But anyway, just as like what? It's
disorienting. It's all. You're thrown in this world that's deep in the future, and there's a lot of futuristic things. But then there's stuff that looks very familiar, and like it could be from the present or even the past. But something's a little bit off, and this is just a super heavily policed world of this movie, starting with these cops on horses. And when I watched it a second time, I was thinking like, what must have happened in the world that led to such like over both from the government and from corporations with the targeting of the ads and the facial recognition and the optical recognition everywhere, the amount of intrusion of our privacy that people have allowed in this world.
What year was this made?
2002.
So 9/11.
It was made before 9/11.
Damn. Tom Cruise's kid gets taken from a pool. That's what happened. You don't fuck with Tom Cruise.
That's where it all starts?
You don't fuck with Tom Cruise.
No.
It's literally where it starts.
Yeah. So this is all revealed to be a vision in the head of Agatha, who goes, murder. And then a ball comes down a mousetrap tube, and we see it's a murder. And then we meet Tom Cruise as John Anderton. And an on-screen title says the year is the year 2054. And I love that.
Do you? I appreciate that they haven't altered clothes all that much, because that's where they always go way too far. Like get rid of denim, get rid of things that have been going in and out of fashion and coming right back for years and years. Like, so I'm glad they're not wearing like space shit and all Velcro.
What don't you love? I mean, I just mean I love the phrasing the year : 2054.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know you literally meant punctuation was getting you.
It was
super hot. No, I meant that I wish it were a little bit further, because even when they made this, it doesn't seem like a far enough jump into the future to really get kind of crazy, especially if you know you're going to change things like infrastructure of highways. When it takes 3 years to fix a pothole on a street, it does. Who is funding this? It just takes me out of it. I need maybe one more 100 of years or 50 more, maybe just 50 more, 30 more. Give me something.
We already talked about this though. Like in 1952, the world looked so different. Like they would have shuddered at the way cities looked in 2002.
All right, fine. But
Especially
so much physics has to change for cars for this to be. It just really does feel the interstate and the car part feels like it's from a different movie. It feels like Fifth Element or something. That's much more further in the future.
I agree. I don't mind it because I think it looks cool, and but it's like this movie is the rare movie about the future that seems uncanny in things it predicts, almost like it's a precog with targeted advertising, with optical recognition, with this iPad or with the touchscreen that Tom Cruise is so good at manipulating with pinch to zoom and
flat screen television, and monitored calls, like a Zoom call situation, for people who don't need to be right in the room. They could have just as easily brought in two bureaucrats to come in and like witness the way these two bureaucrats on the wall are made to do. But they're like, you know what? No, you're doing this like every 5 minutes. Can you just like have a little red light and I'll be in there. I'll get on a Zoom.
I love that Tom Cruise and, whoever plays these two witnesses, one of whom is apparently the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, but they're all playing it like they've done this so many times.
Right.
Tom Cruise is so good at acting like that. Because he's still got that confidence drive to just talk really fast. Good morning.
Right. Then we get to it. But this is and I think I pointed this out a little while ago, but this is the second movie to get the orientation of a flat screen TV wrong and to think of it as portrait rather than landscape. So these people literally look like framed pictures of themselves on the wall rather than...
It makes more sense, though.
It doesn't. Whenever you go to the movie theater, that panoramic look is already there. It makes sense to keep going. Like, where's the rest of the story, Matt? Is it underground and in the sky? No, the rest of the story, if I want to see more, I need to open it up like this so I can see what is happening here. We live horizontally. We don't live vertically.
For faces, I think it does make more sense. Make them more like a portrait. But fine. The other thing that they can't fathom is like they have all this ability to predict the future technology, but obviously we'd still have physical discs. If you want to put a different file on your computer, you need to physically insert a disc. If you want to watch a different video,
you have to credit card machine.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe the makers of Windex had something to do with the future because they want everything to need to be cleaned every day. Look at the glass on this. It would just be full of fucking grease and...
That would be the true miracle of innovation is if we can get a glass that you don't have to clean.
Like, you just got like some grunt whose job it is to Windex every day and they accidentally like send a murder ball down the thing. And
So, I mean... I guess just big picture, what do you think of Tom Cruise in this movie?
I think he's great in every movie. Honestly.
Have we not covered Interview with a Vampire? Have we not covered a Tom Cruise movie since then?
You're not asking the right person.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
But I guess, you're generally very positive on him as an actor and a movie star.
Yes. And his particular flavor of weird outside of the movies doesn't offend me.
We actually like it.
Gives it a little... Wonder what he's going to do. I think of him more as a victim outside of this than I just like his work ethic. I like how hard he goes on himself. I don't think everyone should do this, but I think it's interesting about him, the way that he insists on doing everything himself.
I don't remember who said this. Sorry. I'm sure I heard it on another movie podcast that their theory is that Tom Cruise is not allowed to leave Scientology, so he's trying to kill himself via stunts.
Right. Well, and then I was reading part of the Spielberg biography, and they mentioned that very early on in his career, Spielberg promised to be the director of a project of this guy who gave him a break, as long as he wasn't already committed to doing something else. And I'm like, that's why Spielberg has just been layering pride. He does not want to go do that free thing for that fucking hack. I don't remember who it was for. It was just some guy that gave him a break like way early.
No, that guy's probably been dead for 30 years,
like,
but he won't. He's like, no, any moment that guy can come for me.
Because now it's his son and he's really a piece of shit. Right. I think Tom Cruise just doesn't want to be asked by, what is the name? Malkovich? Miscavige. Like, can you come do the 40th? I'm promoting Scientology by making this.
No, it's good for the church if I make all these movies. Yes.
You handle that awards show and birthday thing so good. You don't need me anymore.
Allegedly.
Use my hologram. That'll be fun.
We have to be, how I gushed so much on the Jurassic Park episode about how how they give the exposition about this world. I mean, this movie is like 15 times more complicated, and they have to dump it all out on you right now, and it's done so beautifully. You're not you're not confused by this movie and the way all of this stuff works, even when it's dumb that there's balls.
It truly is. And then they go explaining why, and it's like, okay, except for you're using a machine to make those balls, and a wood whittler just does the same pattern over and over again. Okay. Sorry, I'm not explaining.
We make these balls because they're cinematic, you see.
Well, they said they're like a thumbprint. Every ball is unique. And then we etch their name on these balls. Like, people don't share the same name all the fucking time, especially people named John.
Plus, it's not like there's ever a scene where the ball is very closely examined. Like, did anyone futz with this ball?
What?
Well, they don't want these balls to be tampered with, but doesn't ever seem like that's an actual issue that they're concerned with.
Did this movie predict in and out and core emotions and stuff? That is something. As soon as I saw the ball rolling and it being important, I was like, that makes me think of In and Out. In and Out. I do this every time.
I knew what you meant.
What do I mean?
Inside Out.
Thank God. Okay.
So, like all TV shows that have their pilot episodes centered on a character coming to work at a new job for the first time ever, like Peggy Olson in the first episode of Mad Men. Now we have Danny Whitworth, Colin Farrell, who has to be, he's as they say, a twink from the Fed, show up.
Do they say that?
Tom Cruise says it.
Did twink not mean the same
thing? The twink, I think it means what it means.
Okay, got it.
And he comes in and they have to, give him the tour and explain everything. And I guess when this movie came out, and I really liked this movie, but I was like very much, I hate Colin Farrell at the time because he felt like he was being shoved down our throats. He's in every movie. They want us to think he's the great new movie star.
Yeah, I never bought into him either. And then they do another very smart thing of needing explanation even for the pros, because later in the movie, Colin Farrell's character insists that they go into the precog's room, which none of them have ever even been in, these experts. So even they're being explained to once they get down there. They keep finding reasons why organically we get told the story. When you started talking about this topic, I was like, I can't even remember how they gave us the exposition, which means it was good.
Yeah. Yes, you're so right. But do you like Colin Farrell now?
Name something he's been in recently.
What, Banshees of Inisherin, The Lobster?
That's true.
I love him now, and I love him in this. I guess I was just.
There's something about his face. He's got a little bit of the little bitch in him. He's got a little. He's got a little Clooney. He's just a little too good looking.
But I even think that is intentional. I mean, I think
you think he's doing it on
purpose? Like Top Gun Maverick, like the subtext is all these young pilots are trying to be Tom Cruise, but nobody's Tom Cruise. I think this movie is like Colin Farrell's like a new Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise is
Tom
like,
Cruise
no.
was still the new Tom Cruise.
Step aside.
He doesn't even
buddy.
have any wrinkles yet.
I know, but
still look like a baby.
You always have to. The factory must continue. You always have a new one coming down the line, and I think Danny Whitworth is supposed to be like I'm like kind of like a young John Anderton.
I'm on your heels.
But I really love his performance. I really loved it this time. I think my favorite scene in the movie is when he is explaining how he figured everything out to the person who ends up being the villain. So, we just see how he's like a very smart cop, and he's good at manipulating these images, and he can figure out where this murder's taking place because there's a merry-go-round in the background.
I will say that is the thing that took me out of it, that they just keep referring to Tom Cruise's character as a cop. What cop? What cop is this technologically savvy? And I mean, I understand. It's also interesting, right, that this is still a test period, a 6-year period, that they are trying this out just on the DC area exclusively, and then they will scale it. So since it's still in testing, they keep kind of having to retell you how that's been going, and its stats and differences between what it was before and after. So I get that they maybe don't have all the terminology they need for, if this goes forward, what do you call the role that Tom Cruise is in this movie? He very much seems like the only one that can really do it well. But cop is his fucking title. That sounds crazy to me.
Well, he's still going out and making the arrest, which is like, you do not have to be doing that
you
part.
don't.
But I think he's like one of these people who's like, I cannot delegate. I have to make myself so indispensable.
Yes.
This whole organization is basically just me.
Well, because he's trying to forget his son. But that's also like, I don't even see how you scale this. They seem to, he's a detective more than he's a cop, because he is deciphering all these things. He also seems to be an expert of his surroundings. He knows these so this would have to be a hyper local profession, like one of these per major city. And it doesn't even seem like you could do it for every town. It seems like there would end up being these like poor places in these outskirts, and maybe criminals go there to do their murder, because how do you even cast a big enough net over the entire world? It seems like this would create more problems for less fortunate areas.
Yeah, as everything does.
Yeah, this couldn't be a more affluent place because it's DC. Yeah, these are rich people that this is happening to. You just know people will find where the cogs cannot see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because he insists on going on the raids himself, they drop into the place where Mr. Marks, what's his first name? Howard Marks is about to stab his wife with scissors. And then all the cops drop in from the ceiling in riot gear and stop him. And then say you're under arrest for the future murder of these people. And this guy, it's very sad. He seems so confused. And they're going to put the halo on him and put him into a whatever it is that happens to you.
Your life really ends.
So we get, like you said, that this is a test period, and we get a little ad, a very well done little propaganda ad about pre-crime and why pre-crime works.
Oh God, this ad. Can we just make a TikTok where we just play this ad as one of the like promos for this? It's just so perfect.
It really is.
The tone is just, yes.
He was gonna rape me. He was gonna stab me right here. Pre-crime. It works. Pre-crime works.
I mean, they really got targeted ads right, but they didn't get the way we'd receive them correct. I mean, we are always looking at a computer screen, so they're not wrong. We put them in front of our... That's what I mean. So I think where this movie didn't know is that we would voluntarily put the ads in our face the whole day. They didn't need to stick them in every possible structure that you walk through on your day-to-day. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but like the advertising in this movie is stressful.
But it's, you can't escape it. I love the billboard, the digital billboard with the man in sunglasses is just being suspended by a crane.
Yeah.
So like if you live in this building, you're not going to be able to escape this. They're going to put it in front of your window at various times throughout the day. But
love, don't you think they're just bringing the crane to its resting place?
No, they move it around.
Come on.
They move it around. That's part of the vision, is that it moves throughout the vision.
Okay, I need to read.
That it seems so sinister. That seems so sinister to
wild.
me.
Like, we can sense that eyeballs have opened at this house and this house because the eyes are everything in this movie.
Yeah.
They can tell everything. And it's like eyeball sensors, moving screen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. This movie's so, if it's about anything else, it's about a lot of things. But surveillance and the precogs are their own form of surveillance. But the government is surveilling, and just the tools of capital are surveilling you at all times. And yeah, not like science fiction. Some science fiction knew about the internet and predicted the internet, but they didn't predict that we mainly live virtually on our phones and our computers, right. And the ads follow us around the internet because they're all just linked, basically.
Right.
But I 100% believe that physical world targeted advertising is coming.
So tell me if this is your experience too, but the most stressful part is when is he walking through a mall? And it reminds me of when you walk through the perfume and how there are 2 or 3 people that'll catch you and say, they want to spray you with the sprayers. That used to be a thing much more in the past. The perfume section was specifically intrusive, sensory wise, and with people asking you questions. You just had to like kind of fucking get through it.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where he's in a shopping mall, like, hello, John. Hello, John. Hello, John. Nice to see you. John, you want to look like this? John, are you hungry? John, like everything is this personalized ad selling whatever it is that thing is selling. It is. And he's running. So he's getting them really fast, faster than most people.
Mr. Yakamoto, how did those tank tops work out for you?
Right. It's like, oh, actually, this is smart. And it's overwhelming because they won't get right how to limit it, how to space it out. And it's just going to be like, well, everyone else is doing it. Guess Jeans is going to need one of these thingies in every mall.
And there'll be like some data people who are like, there's so much potential profit to be had from doing super targeted advertising at our previous customers. So when they walk in, we need to remind them of purchases they made in the past and be very loud about it.
But also get really excited about people that have never been in their store because they can be like, first time shoppers get 15% off. We're so excited to meet you.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. They'll give you the 15% off. Fuck.
They'll find you right away. Or like in your 18th birthday when you can start. I don't know when you're allowed to give coupons to kids. I guess as long as they're buying stuff, doesn't matter how old they are, right?
Yeah.
But isn't that weird for a targeted ad to be talking to our kid while we're walking through a place? Doesn't it seem weird? There'd have to be age. I'm sorry. This movie sends me down so many rabbit holes of thought experiments, which I love thought experiments, but I have a feeling I'm being very annoying to the people listening. Let's try to stick to the plot. I'm sorry.
Okay. We'll try.
I'm sorry.
Where were we? Okay. The commercial. But this is playing in the shitty part of town as Tom Cruise jogs through to go meet his heroin dealer.
That was another thing they got right, is they kind of look like little vapes.
They do. They're little pods.
Yeah, these little...
They're so well designed.
I love the way they think of drugs in the future.
I love the way Tom Cruise, he's just such a good actor with handling little objects. Like he's shaken a Neuroin pod 1 billion times. He's like just shaking it to hear if it sounds right. Does it to each one he gets. Shake.
I didn't even notice.
And then he goes back to his home, which is voice activated with lights and music. What they didn't know is everyone has voice activation now, but we all fucking hate it.
Right. We're not super excited to see Alexa. She's like, shut up. I'll turn on my own fucking light.
With the targeted ads, I'm going to get off track again. Our son needs the Roku home screen on at all times. We can't turn the TV off. Even if he's not watching TV, he wants that Roku home screen on. But
specifically the one that they use or have used in the past in the winter. He wants the snow one.
He calls it Christmas. But Roku, those sons of bitches, will sometimes force a different theme in that's an ad for something else. Like, this is our Taylor Swift Eras Tour pack.
Right.
And he gets upset and shouts, Christmas! And it feels like such an intrusion that they do that to us.
Yes. And one day, I'm worried Christmas will not even be an option in the like, you can go into settings and reset whatever you want.
Yeah.
But one day that one might not be there.
Yeah, they can just delete it or they'll change it.
It's their fucking hardware and software. And
who do we have to write to fix that?
I feel like we have bought so many Rokus. Can we please own it's got to be like when you buy it, you get the OG shit, and they can add new stuff, but you get to keep your old stuff. This is
the problem with outsourcing our lives to these unaccountable companies and getting used to their shit. We need to figure out how to take like a very high fidelity screenshot of the TV so we can
the movement matters.
Oh yeah. Well, a video.
Yeah. Please do that like this week.
Okay.
I'm stressed all of a sudden.
Anderton goes into his apartment. The lights come on. It's just vape pods and cereal and pistachio nuts everywhere. And he gets high and watches footage of his old son, Sean, while eating dry cereal from a box. His young son, Sean. A box of cereal called Pine and Oats. The box of cereal is animated. And the person who did the animation for Pine and Oats is the same guy, Bob Kurtz is his name, who did the Mr. DNA animation.
Oh.
When I was reading about Bob Kurtz, I saw he did animation in Minority Report. Where is their animation in Minority Report? It said, parentheses, Pine and Oats. I was like, what the fuck is that? But I found it. It's this cereal box. And just because I love finding animation in live action movies, especially hand-drawn animation, because animation is so fucking hard to do and so expensive and takes forever, that whenever it happens in a movie, I'm like, I have to take note of this. And this only is on screen for 4 seconds. And then Tom Cruise forcibly throws it out of the movie. It must have been so sad for the people who worked on that animation.
Okay.
So he's watching this footage of his deceased son, Sean, and he's getting high while he does it. And then he watches footage of his
sweet video of him telling him he loves him, or, just very, very chill moment. Nothing. You can tell he does this every night. And then he, like you were going to say, then watches a video of his wife. Did you assume she was dead too? I mean, you know the kid is, but like they never tell you who's dead. They just that he had a loss. So then he goes to pull out the file and like very invasively watch like a private sexy moment between him and his wife and kind of like almost interact with the projection a little bit. I'm thinking, okay, so she's dead. I makes sense. And then when I find out she's alive, I'm like, this feels intrusive.
I think it's like I wrote in my notes, this is like when you Facebook or Instagram stalk your ex. But they didn't have that back then.
I mean, I guess if you let anyone that you date take a video of you, they have it forever.
Yeah.
That feels wrong.
I bet that people seeing this for the first time assume she's dead too. And the dead wife and kid is like such a
trope. Yeah.
Cop cliche, but and having the dead kid and that's why he does it. It's very basic, like with Alan Grant and his opinions about kids. But I think unlike other movies where the cop has a dead kid, the cop's dead kid plays a role in the plot of this movie and a very central role. So it's not just thematic and character.
Because and I don't know if I can think of another movie that does this off the top of my head. Very importantly, his kid went missing. Like, there is no body there. I don't know that there was a funeral. It's a crowded pool area, and 1 second he's there, the next he's not. And it takes so long for you to like accept in that moment that you should stop looking like I can't imagine ever stopping looking. Anyway.
It is the thing. More than anything that would cause you to just like spiral and just
be looking for him all the time and there's no closure.
Yeah. And he doesn't get closure in the movie. He thinks he does, and then it's taken from him. That's
what I was going to say. That this is one of the only movies I can think of where that is not a part of
his journey.
Yeah.
I mean, the journey is he apparently has accepted it because he gets back together with his ex-wife and they're making a new Sean so they can forget about the old one. So now there's more business with Danny Whitmer, Colin Farrell, where we're learning more about pre-crime, but also he just raises the philosophical issues that this sort of thing implies. Namely that you're arresting people, you're prosecuting them for crimes they won't commit. It's a very reasonable objection. And, I mean, what do you think that pre-crime, at least as it's supposed to work in this movie, would that be worth having to stop murder?
Well, no, I think it's the same thing with any huge effort to fix a perceived problem. And to fix it this way seems really short-sighted. You're not helping anyone who finds themselves in a situation where murder is the solution for them. You're just haloing them, which just means you're killing them. But so that society doesn't have to feel bad about it. They're not technically dead. And I don't think this privilege would be something equally dispersed across the world. So no, I don't think there should be entire communities where you do not have to worry about murder anymore. I think you're creating more problems than you're solving, and really ugly ones.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. But yeah, there's the things like in inner city neighborhoods, like murder or unsolved murder rate is like so much higher than.
Well, like I said, it attracts people who need to go do nefarious things because they know that those are blind spots. So the crime there spikes immeasurably. Because where else can you do it? Yeah.
So Colin Farrell says we're prosecuting people for crimes they haven't even committed yet. In like civil law, there's the idea that you have standing to sue if you have suffered an injury. If you have a dispute with somebody, but you can't prove that you've been monetarily affected or bodily affected, then even if you're correct, like there's nothing to sue over. And in criminal law, there's like the similar concept of like there has to be a harm done. So you're sort of upending the whole philosophy of law.
And doesn't there have to be a body? Like, isn't that literally a thing?
Does there have to be a body?
Yeah. Can you accuse someone of murder if you cannot find a body? I can't remember.
Yeah, of course.
You can?
Yeah. I mean, you have to have other forms of evidence.
Okay.
But you're taking away.
I think it's just a lot harder when there's not a body. But yeah, okay, there has to be.
And like the more I was thinking about this in the middle of the night, the more my head was spinning because like so like predictive algorithms are getting better and better and better. And it's just how creepy is it to think that they know so much about your future behavior. Everybody's always saying like, how does my phone know that I wanted this thing? Did it hear me talking? And actually it's just, you're that predictable. They have so much data about you that they can predict.
I hear what you're saying, but my phone doesn't predict shit. It just knows what I did last. You like socks? We got socks.
Yes, I know. But
yeah,
like,
I get you.
In terms of like a statistician could tell you everything you've ever done and probably everything you ever will do. And it would be so creepy and sad.
And like if you pull up to McDonald's, it can be like, want another double cheeseburger and a small fry like last time? Okay. Yeah, I do.
When you order with apps, it's so easy to just hit reorder.
Yeah.
So easy. But then like, you know, I wear a Fitbit all the time. It measures my heart rate. Well, what if these things get better and they're like, hey, we see that your heart rate combined with your blood pressure means that right now you're horny or right now you're thinking of doing something bad. Like, I just like think of the logical conclusion of that. And we're going to be judged for all sorts of just stuff that we have no control over. Like what? I don't know.
You sure are getting a little nervous over there.
The precogs see the future, but they don't seem to see a future wherein pre-crime exists. Like they're like, these crimes always get prevented. Why don't they ever see a future where the crime gets prevented? And then the future that the pre-crime cops see should be affected by the very fact that they have seen it.
Don't do that. You're doing time travel shit right now?
Yeah.
Don't.
Okay.
It's always a lost cause when we try this.
I mean, tell us about the precogs.
Okay. So from my understanding, the precogs are the only success stories, quote unquote, from this experiment that I'm unsure of this woman. Is she a scientist or there's some botanist? I don't know. There's some woman who had access for some reason to kids born from pauper addicts, right? Neuroin addicts. And maybe these are the first, I can't remember. I think these are the first 3 babies born in
No, there were many that died before them.
But how long do they live?
I don't remember. But this is kind of like, these are like little dinosaur babies in a way. They're trying all kinds of genetic manipulation and these babies are dying, but these are the ones that lived.
Okay, but their excuse is that these are coming from neuroin addicts. They're not creating the addicts. And these babies would not have a safe home to go to if they did survive. If they do survive, they're going to have a lot of problems anyway. So like they're doing a service. They get to couch it as they're doing a service for these children. But really they're just trying to, they understand that these kids are special. And I think they all have this power of sight, I think. But I don't totally understand this part. But anyway, the twins are the 2 boys or 2 men that are in this floating water pod, and then there's one female, their sister, called Agatha. These are the only ones that have like lived to adulthood, and they have amazing powers of foresight. But you know, to keep them comfortable, they keep them kind of sedated, but they never get to fully go to sleep, and they never get to fully wake up. That sounds miserable. And they're floating in water the whole time. I think because it amplifies due to electricity and shit.
Yeah, all that.
It can't be because it makes them really comfortable. And how pruny would you be? They would just be so waterlogged.
Maybe that's what Wally, the temple guy, is constantly doing, is just like painting them with some sort of anti-pruning.
He's definitely right. There is a maintenance man in here who is very attached to them, especially the woman, who is just constantly giving them whatever it is that they need. I hope he's got someone who relieves him because I've only ever seen him. But theoretically, there are people who their whole job is just to, it just seems like hospice. It's just a body that's somewhere between life and death, and you're just cleaning it off every now and then and giving it medicine every now and then, and it's like a Tamagotchi. Like
John Anderton says, it's better if you don't think of them as human.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
It is better. Wouldn't that be nice?
Right away, what bothered me about this movie isn't everything we've talked about so far. It is about that, and I said this earlier, is it these 3 people's job to do this for all of society and have no kind of life, only a terrifying one, because all you ever see are murder and terrible things. and I know that well, it's like, well, but if it weren't for us, these people wouldn't have existed or lived past childhood, or it's like, no, we did a service. But are they still trying to get more? Because these are just humans, right? So they'll have a human lifespan.
Yeah.
What happens when they die?
Yeah, I'm sure there's
this is the reality of the purge, because maybe there's just a huge spike in murder whenever they're in between precogs. Hopefully they're raising up new ones. They don't ever address this.
I'm sure they are. Yeah, I'm sure they have like a fucking farm where they're trying this. That's like the horrifying thing he stumbles on in an alternate cut, probably. Yeah. Agatha, Dash, and Arthur, named after mystery writers, Agatha Christie, Dashiell Hammett, Arthur Conan Doyle. And when Tom Cruise enters the temple, Agatha randomly wakes up and grabs him. It's pretty startling. Yeah. She says, "Do you see?" And then looks up at the screen on top, and we see a woman being drowned. And then Wally, the temple guy, runs in. He's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing to her?" And he's like, "Well, she grabbed me." He's like, "Impossible. She never grabs anyone. She'd grab me all the time if she could." But Agatha's like, "Holy shit, someone useful. I'll grab him." So then we meet Gideon Tim Blake Nelson.
He's great.
He's in charge of all the people who have been haloed. And he plays the organ for them like Phantom of the Opera. Again,
this world only has one expert per job, but these people have to have lives and also not be there sometimes. So I don't know. It is just, to me, seems small. And I guess because it's only funded so much, but you could never do this responsibly. Not the haloing part. Also, is the haloing something they invented, or is that something that they do now for all people who commit crimes outside of this? Like, maybe this is not new. All right, just seems like a lot of resources and and just the how hard it is to write new laws and to write new regulations and stuff. It's just, this would never happen. Anyway, it looks like kind of like if Steve Jobs was in charge of the Matrix. Like, everything is white and beautifully packaged and everything looks fun, but it's just people pods. Body people pods when they're hooked up to something. So yeah, the Matrix plus Steve Jobs.
Anderton wants to know about this vision that he just saw. He's like,
"Oh, sorry, I thought we were just talking about the room." Okay,
I'm trying to figure out, trying to make sense of what I just saw. Anne Lively, that's the name of this drowned woman. Can you show me her the guy who was going to kill her? So he does. Tim Blake Nelson plays Gideon, and he talks in this sort of countrified but Fred Gwynn in Pet Sematary.
Yes.
Voice is like, "What you doing down here, Chief?"
You sure you want to go messing with the undead? You might get back something weird.
He takes him down to this guy. It's a John Doe. Never did figure out who this man is. Okay. And Tom Cruise wants to extract some memories, because there's this thing like, okay, all of the three precogs produce their own vision, and we just sort of combine them all. But we also store their individual things, and he wants to take a look at her individual memory.
Because sometimes the woman does not agree. The guys always seem to agree, but Agatha is the one that's the truly powerful one, but she's outnumbered. So if she has a vision that's altered from what they go with the larger vote, which is them too, the guys.
See, I think this is also sort of a commentary on computers and algorithms. Like, no, they're not wrong. This is just data. We're just following the data. Data can't be wrong. But you still have people who are like making decisions like, but we're going to disregard this data.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. The regulations and protocols and stuff.
I mean, two of the three say this, so that's obviously what's correct. But her file has mysteriously been deleted, and Tom Cruise is like, well, let me just take that little disc. And Tim Blake Nelson's like, "Isn't it, Chief? You go digging around the past, all you get is messy."
A little dead boy.
So it's my favorite line in the movie. It's so good.
Okay, sorry.
Go digging around the past, all you get is messy.
It's dirty.
Fuck.
Yeah, you fucked it up.
All you get is dirty.
There you go.
Get that dirt on.
Okay, but this is when we learned that there's something called a minority report, and that is just that is the very few reports where all the precogs do not agree. It's called a minority report.
I think we learned about that when he goes to meet Lois Smith, the flower lady. The minority report.
Oh, I got you. Is like, it's such a cool name for a movie, but it's such a nothing thing in this movie. Like we just don't spend very much time giving a shit about what that is. And I never think he is one. I never assume that he's not going to kill anyone. That man looks capable of murder. And you know exactly what they're going to do to make him kill. It's going to have to do with your son, you crazy fucking drug addict.
The book, I mean, the short story, The Minority, is just called The Minority Report and is very much about the Minority Report because it's like about this idea of certainty and knowledge.
Right.
And what ultimately happens is there's 3 precogs and each of them produces a Minority Report. They don't agree. None of the 3 agrees on what happens because it's like one predicts the future as it would be. One predicts the future with Anderton having seen that he's going to kill this guy and decides, I'm not going to kill that guy. And then the third predicts the future based on the second. So it's like each time is different and affected by the other. It's very interesting. But this movie's like not interested in that. It's just a MacGuffin. It's just find the Minority Report, Chief Anderton. I will. Max von Sydow, who we haven't mentioned, plays Lamar Burgess.
We skipped right over the fact that it drops a ball and says he's going to kill someone.
Not yet. No, because
he's running.
No, this.
Oh God, you're right.
This meeting with Max von Sydow is what sets in motion him getting framed.
Wait. Yeah, fine. But you said the woman tells him what a Minority Report is.
That's late. No, because you said this scene with Timberlake Nelson is where we learn about Minority Reports. And I said that's later.
This is just when he starts to understand for the very first time, and him being the utmost expert on this software, this machine, this thing. He's a maestro of this. He is determining people's lives based on his knowledge of what the precogs do and the machine or the software. And it's very disturbing to find out for the very first time that sometimes all the precogs do not agree. That seems like a big thing he should have at least known could happen so he can factor that in to when visions aren't quite lining up correctly or whatever. So it's odd right away. And the relationship he has to the man that invented this, or I don't really understand his role. He seems like the father of it, this character. What's his name?
Lamar Burgess, Max von Sydow.
Okay. But he's got like a very almost too intimate relationship with the man who works for him. So it seems manipulative. Like, come here, as soon as he gets in trouble, just come here, my boy. It's like, what? You shouldn't be sticking your neck out like that. That's
why it's so great. That's why he's
very human.
Max von Sydow is so good in this movie as a simultaneously cuddly old grandpa who is like fucking sly as a fox, and he's just one of these career bureaucrats who knows how to pull the levers of power.
Yes, and to get away, to manipulate. Like, he immediately takes him under his wing and Laura, and this is after the death of their child.
I see someone vulnerable.
Yes, and he has tentacles on them so much that even while they divorce and don't speak anymore, he brings up Laura. Laura's really worried. I think it's Lara, Laura.
Yeah,
okay.
But they say Laura.
Oh, okay. It's just like, I'm thinking, like, are they related? Why is he talking to her?
That's such a good point. Because I've always been like, wait, why is he... This timeline, I'm trying to figure out this timeline. They seem like they're like decades old family friends, but he's like, she came to work for me after Sean died.
Right.
But
if you'd only come 6 months earlier, I could have helped you.
But he's doing that. He's keeping a close tabs on both of them. He's staying in touch with the ex-wife. Why is he doing that?
Right. To manipulate the husband. Yep. To keep him needing to keep going forward with this project that is like the only thing this old man actually cares about.
And he later says, like, I'm old, people don't listen to me, they listen to you, Tom Cruise.
Right.
You're just my little mouthpiece. But and Anderton is like, never knew that there's a such thing as a Minority Report. I mean, how many stories are there about people working in the military or whatever? Like, I never questioned that, wait a minute, we can drone strike a innocent wedding, like, and had no idea. But he's kind of like a good soldier who's just going forward and doing. But
he instantly knows this doesn't make sense for me not to know it. I mean, I am always I'm him having to decipher very mushy images on a big screen and connecting the dots and looking for irregularity and fixing it if I do. The fact that he is not told about something that causes those irregularities is super suspicious.
It is.
It's not innocent. Not an innocent, like, this is a need to know situation. Like, there's 2 of us. I need to know.
And you don't. But because he found out about the Anne Lively thing, he runs to Lamar Burgess. He's like, Lamar, I learned about Anne Lively. What do you think?
Oh, no.
Over and over, people in this movie figure something out and then go to the bad guy and tell him, like, you'll help me, right?
He's so
yes, yes, I will help you.
He has a mansion and he's so nice.
So while he's doing this, Colin Farrell goes into Tom Cruise's apartment and looks around at all the drugs. He's like, drugs. I knew it.
I'm a loser.
And he starts watching the footage of the dead son, Sean, and Colin Farrell is like delightfully evil as he says, Daddy's in a lot of trouble, Sean.
Jesus Christ. I'm going to put him in a halo right next to you. Daddy's home. There's no body. Wait, never mind. Can't do it.
That meeting with Max von Sydow is what causes John to get framed for murder, because the next scene is him examining a murder and then suddenly seeing his face in the images, and then the ball comes down and says the perpetrator is John Anderton. And I love Tom Cruise is so good as he plays like the confusion, just confidently whipping around, pinching and zooming, and then suddenly sees his face. Wait, swipe, wait. And then the two witnesses are like, Chief Anderton, I don't know what I'm seeing on here. And he just swipes them away.
You know, something they did not get correct about screen activity in the future is how private we need to be about it, how we have screen protectors from people looking here or there. We certainly wouldn't have clear computers where you can see the image I'm looking at on my... I'm not going to look at porn while fucking downstairs fucking Ralph, who's patrolling the office at midnight, can see the backwards view of my sexy slutty ladies. Sorry, I said slut. Yeah, so idiots. The future's different.
So he has to run.
Oh, okay.
He has to run. He's been accused of murder. Now the murder alarms are going off.
This is another thing similar to... The Sixth Element is because of the eye scanning, because there's no way to get away from the government or, people are trying to keep tabs on you. If you've committed a crime, they will just shut down your car or they will take over your car and bring you back to custody. Your stuff is not your stuff. Mm-hmm. Not if you commit a crime or think you're going to.
But he jumps in his car. It gets turned off. So he gets out of that car and jumps into somebody else's car, and then jumps out of that car and into somebody's apartment. And then there's a foot chase, and then the cops on their jetpacks come down and chase him. But because he's the best in the world, he's able to escape all of them. So it's like that does happen. They do shut down his stuff. Yeah,
that's why I said it's just like the Fifth Element with how they shut down all of his stuff.
Oh, okay. I thought you seemed like you had your plot hole magnifying glass out.
No, I was just saying that's very similar. That it just like with the Roku. The Roku is our device. We bought it. We think it's ours. But
no, it's not yours. Yeah. So he goes into the subway. Cameron Diaz is on the subway. She makes a little cameo.
Oh, I didn't notice.
So is Cameron Crowe and Paul Thomas Anderson. They're also they had both previously directed Tom Cruise in movies. And there's just a lot of chasing here. It's really cool. You
got to use Tom Cruise's physicality. You can't have him in a movie and not let him do a bunch of stuff,
And I feel like this movie, maybe because they talk so much about how he runs, your daddy likes to run. That maybe this is the beginning of people starting to point out, Tom Cruise is always running in movies, isn't he? Even in Jerry Maguire.
That posture while he runs, he is like 10 and 2. I know that's not the right phrasing, but that is a good looking runner. Why do you have, okay. So the slide Matt has in front of me so that we can talk about this woman who is also part of the Minority Report project. There's a moment where she kisses him for some fucking reason. And it's just, that's what you put. It's grossing me out. It's fine. So he's on the run. I do not know where he gets her name from or the location.
No, he knows who she is. She's Dr. Iris Henneman. She invented pre-crime along with Lamar Burgess, so he knows where she is.
Okay.
And earlier, Colin Farrell asked, "Well, can I interview her?" And Tom Cruise is just doesn't answer her. There's almost like no, we don't really talk about her or talk to her
because she seems to kind of turned her back on. We see with her, she is definitely having trouble with the ethics of it all. She created something that got away from her, which is always the issue with creation. You can create it, you do not know what its future is.
Well, how much-
children. I remember right. This is another part of the what kind of movie is this when he jumps over the wall and giant man-eating plants like bite at him. And it's like, what now? Fucking Tim Burton is directing this shit. What is happening? And then he goes in and it's a lady who's just wildly intelligent but she's in her retirement, so she's decided to fuck with the genetics of plants instead of people.
Lois Smith, who I love in this one scene performance, but I watched it again and then started the scene over because like I'm still not sure what this character wants or believes. Like the energy is kind of I'm the Joker and I'm just whatever you think I'm going to do the opposite, which is why eventually she kisses him. But you said that she seems like she has some sort of ethical problems, and I think I thought that, but I can't really tell. I can't really tell what she believes. Does she think pre-crime is good? Does she think it's...
Well, if she believed in it, she would still be doing her role and raising up precogs to take the place of the ones, or to scale the project and bring precognition all over the place. She's not. She's clearly retired and moved on to something else that is interesting enough, which is manipulation of plants.
But does she think it's bad because of what it does to the precogs? Does she think it's bad for different reasons? Does she think it's bad for...
I would have to watch it again to figure that out, but my instinct was that she was attached to the children and that she, I don't know, something about using kids and children this way or trying to help them was just too much, or God, I don't know.
She says this is where she tells him about the Minority Report. If you find that Minority Report, which no certainty that there actually is a Minority Report, but he just hears, he's like, oh, well, obviously there's going to be a Minority Report about me because I'm not going to kill.
If you told me right now I'm going to kill someone, I would be very hard for me to imagine my mental state when I feel totally me right now. I'd be sure too. Yeah,
and he says like, I'm just going to avoid him. She says, but you don't know him. How can you avoid him if you don't know him? And yeah, good question.
Also, you're a very physical cop who has weapons, who can disarm someone or seriously injure someone with just your fucking hands. You've lost your child, you're divorced, and you're on drugs. So I think you are who kills. I think you are the kind of person who ends up shooting someone.
I'd never kill somebody. I'm a cop.
You don't know yourself, my man.
Yeah, find the Minority Report, Chief Anderson, and she kisses him.
He's so fucking important to himself that just trying to escape, he was totally cool with the destruction and like the fucking menacing things that happened as a result of the team chasing him. I mean, there's just so like bursting into houses and scaring people who did nothing. This is just them chasing someone else who's been reported on. Like the collateral damage, and these are not like wealthy places that they're chasing him around. This is just poor people trying to have their day. Right. It's like the high and mightiness of it all. Oh, we stop murder, but do you stop like
systemic poverty?
Do you stop injustice and like, what am I trying to say? Do you actually because once murder is not on the table anymore, once you can't die from that, well, then it just moves to something else, right? They're not catching beatings. I mean, maybe if I live with an abusive man, I want him to just kill me, not just continue to beat me the rest of our relationship.
Well, it's a very specific kind of analysis of society, is that the biggest problem with society is murder. Is that somebody will find out that you cheated on them and then they'll kill you. It's great. And it's like, no, that's not like the 150th problem with society.
You already solved the one that's the biggest. It's automobile accidents. It looks great. You guys did it. You guys seem bored. So you're right. Murder is the biggest crime, but it's the rarest. We don't need it. I don't know.
We don't need murder.
We don't need it, but we also don't need you guys to be so hyper-focused on eradicating it that you, on a daily fucking basis, harass the entire population for the good that you're doing. Oh, it's so good. And what else was I going to say about that? And immediately take away the ability for a person to defend themselves. The halo is so confusing. Like, why can that person not be cognizant anymore? Why not? Like, Is it? I bet it's because it would fuck with the people who are taking them captive.
Yes, I think. They never explain why.
Ever.
They don't explain. Is this just a punishment for people who are guilty of pre-crime, or is this what we do to all prisoners?
Right.
I could almost see it as like, this is what we do to all prisoners now. It is so much cheaper and easier.
And that's what I was asking. But it just doesn't make sense. If someone who did a crime where they're going to eventually get out, why would you halo someone? They can't speak on their behalf. They can't talk to an attorney. They can't serve time. They can't show that they're like have good behavior and good qualities that should get them out on some sort of appeal of whatever that process is. It's like, you're just shutting us down and we're just going to reboot exactly who we were. How does that prove to you I'm any different from the person you put in this thing?
I mean, the point of speculative fiction like this is to make you take a look at the way you live right now. And it's like, we put people in prison. I mean, in a way, this is more humane because you don't have to go through the trauma of being in prison.
But at least you have the hope of getting out and then you can rebuild some kind of life, even if it is in prison.
And I don't know if, right, you're right. I don't know if these people are going to get out one day, but it's like, we make people serve life sentences for murder when in the most of the time they will probably have never actually murdered again. Right. Like, if you make a mistake and kill somebody, at 19 years old, does that mean you need to spend the next 85 years in prison? And this is kind of a neat way of looking at it. Like, we're not literally freezing somebody for life, but we kind of are.
I mean, it goes to the whole kind of MO of the movie. They're not getting rid of the bad parts of life. They are making it easier for the people in power and the people with money to pretend it's not there anymore. You don't see prisoners, you don't hear them, you don't see a trial, you don't have to see their faces. They are immediately haloed. We don't need their story. We need them to be gone and out of sight, out of mind. And with the precogs, the highest level of security clearance government official still had trouble to see and actually go into the room with the precogs. So like the people who are there sacrificing their life to make y'all's life more enjoyable, you'll never see them. We made a statue of them. They're basically gods. They're living their glory. They're famous, but you'll never see them. Right.
That tour guide with the school children is literally telling them lies. And so the government has lies that it's telling people about what the precogs' lives are like. So they're also probably lying about what it's like to get haloed.
Yeah.
And what happens to you when you're in prison.
Except for that guy that was like, don't halo me. Like, so they have some idea of what it is.
You're very scared of it, but yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes to, she says, here's how you find the Minority Report. It's inside Agatha. You need to go get Agatha. And he's like, how am I going to get to Agatha? She's like, you're smart. You'll figure out a way. His way is, I'll go get me some new eyes. So he goes to the crazy eye doctor, played by Peter Stormare.
He's something.
And Peter Stormare.
You just have a knack for putting the wrong pictures on the screen for me.
But isn't it the disgusting moldy sandwich? Is it not the most memorable image of the movie?
No.
He goes to Peter Stormare, who's this disgraced plastic surgeon who Tom Cruise once arrested, but Tom Cruise doesn't remember him. Yep. He gives him some drugs, and as Tom Cruise is starting to get hopped up on goofballs, Peter Stormare's like, you don't remember me, do you? And he's like, did I arrest you? I love it. I love him in this scene. And so he's going to go under and get him some new eyes. But don't take these bandages off your eyes for 12 hours or else you'll go blind. Which always scared the hell out of me because he takes the bandages off after 6.
But this is another great example, right? Like you can use your techniques to get us out of your life, but we're not gone. See, you ended up in a situation, Tom Cruise, where you needed me. You already ousted me. Your methods of cleaning up the place, I just found a new place to do it. And it affects people that are less fortunate than you. So I might be doing more harm right now, or I'm doing good, but I'm not gone. And you can't just like shove me away somewhere.
Right, because you didn't do anything to address the reason people have a need for people like me.
Right, exactly. People are removing their fucking eyeballs because of what you created. You created an unimaginable problems And that's the whole thing with Jurassic Park, right? Like you can really be driven by something and really, really want to see what it's like to have a real dinosaur, and you can accomplish that. But what did you do to the world? Chris Pratt? No.
And we finally meet Tom Cruise's wife, Anderton's ex-wife, Laura, for the first time.
We don't want to talk about the spiders. I feel like they're kind of
that's coming up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Catherine Morris, who's I think is very good in this movie, and I think that Spielberg does kind of have a problem of boring wives in his movies.
He does.
I think Amy Ryan in Bridge of Spies and Sarah Paulson in The Post especially are like, my Tom Hanks husband, he's just always doing important things and I'm just making sandwiches. But the wife here, the ex-wife here, like actually has a vital and active role to play at the end of the movie, which I like.
This is one of those things that once you point it out, I won't be able to unsee this.
What? Oh, the boring wife?
The boring wife
yeah.
thing.
Okay, the spiders. Tell us about the spiders.
All right, so I cannot remember how they narrowed it down. They're still looking for John Anderton. And this is crazy. They don't usually lose their man because John Anderton's the one that finds the pre-murderers. So, but they don't have him. They just have B and C, their second and third best guys on the job. And this motherfucker keeps getting away. So they're like pulling out all the stops. They have to get him in. Otherwise it blows the whole thing apart. Like, okay, you can predict the criminal, but you can't catch him. What good is that? Mm-hmm. Anyway, do you know why they realized a certain apartment building is the place they need to search?
I don't remember. I don't know if they're literally casing every building and this is just one of many.
Maybe.
Because the cops, Neil McDonough is one of the cops. I think his name is Fletch. And then there's the other meaner cop who's like wants to get this building out of the way so they can go eat.
Yeah.
And he just keeps saying, I'm hungry. And then the spiders do their job and he's like, let's eat.
Okay.
So I think they're just casing.
He's going through the sprawl.
Yeah.
Right. Which is just their word for the people we're not protecting. And these spiders they're just eye scanners. They look like Discman they look like if Tim Burton made a Discman. They're just like spindly spiders. And then they're little clicking around.
Spiders.
But they're clearly their whole job is they can go under your door and all they need to do is scan your eyes and you're out of there. But it's such a big part of the life. That everyone's like, no one's even surprised by them entering their apartment and they just go back to their job.
It's so routine that like parents have a thing with their kids, but everybody's still scared of it.
Yeah.
Like the mom has to be like, it's okay. Just look, just open your eyes. It's okay. And like these spiders, but they're not benign. Like if you don't cooperate, they'll zap you. They will forcibly walk up your body and open your eye. But this is such a normal part of life. And like, yeah, we've all invited.
This is the price of no murder. That's what I'm saying. They get such a morally superior sounding thing that you can fold in so much abuse because of it.
Yeah, that's how police states start.
Thank you. I was.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so they have a warm body sensor. So if the amount of eyes scanned does not correlate to the amount of bodies they know to be in the building, then they have to get they have to make sure they get everybody. So this is singling out John Anderton, who is like in an apartment recovering from his eye transplant. So before the 12 hours is up, he just takes the eye scan, he lifts the bandage, and I'll just have one good working eye. I don't think anything actually ends up happening.
No, I mean, he to hide, he throws a ice chest full of ice into a bathtub and tries to stay underwater as long as he can.
Yeah.
And it nearly works, but one of the spiders hears a bubble burst. So it goes and it shocks the water and forces him out and forces the bandage off of his eye and scans his eye. And then they're like, okay, it's not him. So they all leave.
Okay.
And I don't know does this mean this eye just won't work for the rest of the movie?
They don't address it.
But it's not addressed.
But just in the nick of time, they're about to barge into this apartment, and there you go, eye scan. So your technology just worked against you, my man.
But this is, in terms of just thrilling filmmaking, like it doesn't get better than this. This is so fucking suspenseful. And John Williams' score is so fucking cool.
Is it John Williams in this too?
Yes.
He doesn't miss.
It actually sounds a lot like, it kind of sounds maybe too much like The Empire Strikes Back, but I love it.
He looks fucking great. Tom Cruise is good at looking just deranged after a certain point. When he needs to. Vanilla Sky, especially.
Oh yeah.
And so this is very Vanilla Sky. This thing that they do to his face. Is this CGI? What am I looking at?
Yeah, it's CGI.
Or prosthetics. Okay. Go on now, Matt.
Lacey was looking at a picture of Tom Cruise when he injects this thing that makes his face go all putty and nobody can recognize him, even though he looks just like Tom Cruise, but with some pud. So he's going to break into the pre-crime building, and he's about to do it. He's saved his old eyes. He's got new eyes, but he's like, let me keep my old eyes because I might need them. He needs his old eyes to get into the pre-crime building, but he drops them and they fall down a ramp, and he only catches one of them as it's falling into the sewer. This fucking stresses me the hell out, and I finally dropped my AirPod down the sink drain yesterday, and I'm still depressed about it.
Wildly in this heavily impossibly surveilled place and the most surveilled building, he actually freaking pulls it off, gets all the way to the precog. Only John Anderton could have done this. He just rips that biatch right out of the water and on they go.
Well, they're closing in on him. He's gotten into the tank with Agatha, and he's like, I know how I'll escape. I'll pull the giant switch that's right here next to the tank that just opens up a giant human-sized hole, and we'll just jump down the drain. Why is that switch right there?
Yeah, you could.
What do they need that for?
Anyone could have. Well, I guess they got to clean the water, and they want to clean it fast because they got to get the water right back up on
But
them.
it's right there. Yeah, and he just, what's he doing? No! And he just goes down the drain with her, and the next time we see them, they're like in a car.
Not even wet.
That led right to the car. But they're like, holy shit, without Agatha, we can't predict murder. So now, oh my God,
Murder
we're
time.
offline. It's Murder City. It's the Purge, as Lacey said. But, Samantha Morton plays Agatha, and I think she looms so large in my memory of this movie that watching it this time, I was surprised that she doesn't really figure until 90 minutes into the movie. I remembered it as being mostly being Tom Cruise and Samantha Morton like on the road together, but it's not. But I really love her. I really love this performance. She's so good at playing just scared and confused and overwhelmed by time, by everything happening everywhere all at once.
Right, by her actually experiencing life outside of that water tank.
But also not being able to place herself in time because she says, is it now?
Is it now? Right. She's like the first time she's getting to experience current timeline.
But as we see, once things settle down for her, she's pretty chill. It's okay. We are not doing her a service by forcing her to live a life of slavery in a tank.
Right. Again, all of it's just for the people who want what they want. It's all just to get them out of their sight.
We go to Rufus T. Riley's Pleasure Dome VR Palace, like a Ready Player One Oasis type thing. And this guy helped Anderton build his computer system. And he's like, we got to hack into this precog's mind. So they do.
He's like, okay, I got a couple ideas.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, he's really good.
He's a computer genius, but not a body genius. But all right, then.
Plugs into her and he's like, all right, well, display her brain on this nifty little TV. And they do, and they record, and they see Tom Cruise is like, oh, here comes my Minority Report. Can't wait to see how I'm totally innocent. Wait a minute. That's just me shooting him. That's me shooting him dead. What the fuck? And then he shouts at Agatha. I mean, he does. He's like, where's my Minority Report?
He's at it.
Do I even have one? And she's like, no.
I just wanted you to get me out of the tank.
But then she says, can you see? And then she projects on screen the Anne Lively murder again. It's like, this is significant somehow. Well, the cops arrive and they have to run away through them all. But Agatha now, because she has the power of foresight, she knows every move they need to make to disguise themselves from the cops.
Yes, I do like that scene.
Get the umbrella, stand in front of the balloons, give that man some coins. This leads all to the federal housing building where the murder will take place, where Leo Crow lives. And we see that the man in the sunglasses is a floating billboard. We see the creepy old woman smoking the pipe and laughing.
That's the most like John Lynch?
David Lynch
thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, kind of.
No, completely.
He bursts into this apartment and finds this apartment that is very neatly staged with hundreds of photos of children. But what's that? In one of them, it's Leo Crow with
right
my child, Sean. And Anderton realizes this man killed my son or abducted my son or whatever. I am going to kill him. And then Crow comes in. He's like, I'm going to kill you, Crow. Is my son alive? No. I killed him. I drowned him in the botany bay.
I was so gentle.
Yeah.
Ugh, God.
And he's about to, goodbye, Crow. And Agatha's screaming, screaming, you don't have to do this. Please don't do this. She is so disturbed by murder.
Yeah.
More than a normal person. She's upset by the metaphysics of the universe of murder. And she keeps saying, you will do it. You can make a choice. And then we see the most difficult decision he ever makes. It's like, you have the right to remain silent. He's going to arrest him. Holy shit. He chose.
Done it.
He did not choose violence. He chooses law and order.
He must have got himself a popper because he seems so chill.
And why do you keep saying popper?
I don't know. They pop.
That's you sound like you're familiar with Neuroin and Neuroin
Because
culture.
they call them poppers.
Do they?
I think so. Or huffers. There's some kind of cute name.
You don't go do some huffers?
Why are you a Cockney boy?
Oh, down the old chimney with some huffers,
I
won't
think
you?
whiffers? Sniffers. Whatever. Poppers.
Sniffers.
Party poppers.
Yeah, you have the right to remain silent. And he's like, you're not going to kill me? And then very quickly he explains everything very fast. See, I was paid. Your stage. Never met your son. Sorry. Told me if I pretended I killed your son that my family would be fine. I was in prison. They took me out of prison. Who did that to you? I don't know. I never saw his face.
So I'm looking for a faceless man.
And then the Crow makes Tom Cruise shoot him, which is a little convenient, and shoot him in a way that kind of matches the vision, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
So, but how did Max von Sydow arrange all of this? At what point does he needed to go hire Leo Crow to do this?
Well, I mean, what else is he doing? He's got him running the show. All he had to do was constantly be thinking of when this all hits the fan and I'm in trouble. I need to know what guy I'm pulling out of a halo. I need to know why I'm doing it. I need to Photoshop some pictures here. I need to rent a space. I just think he had the plan.
The plan came together so fucking fast.
He's been thinking of it for a long time.
But I guess he already had done this to Anne Lively, so he knows what to do, and it worked so well before. I'll just do it again. But at what point is it just literally the idea pops into his head, and then that's when the idea ball comes out that says that Anderton's going to kill this guy? At what point does intention turn into a precognition? It's something to ponder. I know it doesn't interest you.
No, I just don't understand what you're saying, and I don't want you to explain it. So no, I guess it doesn't interest me. Great point.
But it's good. It's good that you have sort of the resolution of one version of Anderton's journey, which is, I'm going to choose not to kill you, even though I believe you killed my son. Okay, so that's resolved. But then he learns about this whole other thing. No, it's a plot. It's a conspiracy. So he has to ingest all of that. And meanwhile, so they flee, and now Colin Farrell arrives. And Colin Farrell, we're he's just some fucking Department of Justice flack. But no, he was also a damn good homicide investigator in his day. And he's putting on his detective hat. And he's like, this evidence is clearly staged. I've never seen so much clear evidence in one spot. It's insane.
Pedophile just dumps out other photos and goes, yay!
Yeah.
And they're all face up.
Yep.
That's not how photos act.
Right.
And the one of his son is right on top.
But you're saying with is Tom Cruise even a cop? The guys who work for him, they're like, oh, okay. They don't know how to investigate anything because they've never had to investigate anything.
Right.
So it's no, but the evidence is right there. Good. We got this. Done. Case closed.
Yeah. They want a magic they don't want to be burdened anymore with the criminal justice system and with deciding, are they putting an innocent man away? They're like, nope, let's just erase all of that. That bald child said that you're going to murder.
Yes.
So put you in the halo. Zip.
Which is, and this is when I really, really start to love Colin Farrell in this movie, because he has been so unlikable the whole time. But I love an unlikable piece of shit who turns out to be doing the right thing for the right reasons. And as he figures everything out, he's like, I've got it. I'll take all my findings to Max von Sydow, the man I can definitely trust. And he gives this speech and he's like, look, watch this recording. See the water? The water's moving in different direction.
I would have never.
This murder happens at a different time, and he is so proud of his police work.
I mean, he is, but the wind changes, my man. Winds change, but fine.
But it's two videos that are supposed to be the exact same time. Fine. He says all of this to Max von Sydow. Max von Sydow's like, Danny, shush, 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 shush. Do you know what I hear? Nothing. No hovercrafts. No clickety-clack of the little spiders.
Okay.
Because right now, the precogs, they see nothing. And then he shoots him dead.
Danny.
And Colin Farrell, as he falls to his death, looks a little amused. Like, you son of a bitch.
Get me. I always wanted to die in your arms.
Anderson goes to his ex-wife's house, and they tramp around this massive lakeside villa, and he's like, you know, I'm so sad about our son being dead and all that.
Why are you doing it like that?
And she's like, yeah, I know, but, you know, we got to figure out this thing where you're on the run from the law. He's like, yeah, okay. And he's like, oh, you know what? I think this all started because I figured out the Anne Lively thing. I think Anne Lively is Agatha's mother. That must be it. So he goes to ask Agatha, but Agatha's too busy talking about Sean's alternate future where he lived. So it's like the precogs do see alternate futures.
Yeah.
That's also disturbing. It's like, wait, we have no idea what we're looking at with you guys.
You guys need to sit still.
But she says, like, your son Sean, there was so much love in this house. He's running. He's always running. He's a vet. He's in college. He makes love to a pretty girl named Claire. There's so much love in this house. But John, and she's whispering, John, there's so much love in this house, but I'm so sorry. You're going to need to run. Huh? And the cops come. They burst in. They're like 50 cops.
They work for the fucking window company.
Yeah.
They're just like, fuck your windows. These look old.
Looking for windows to burst through.
The walls are hard to burst through, to be fair.
And they surround Tom Cruise, and I like, he's still trying to figure out how to run. And one of them's like, no.
He's real good at running.
One of them says, no talking. Because, like, you're Tom Cruise. I know what you're going to do. You're going to say a bunch of charming stuff and then figure out, just no talking. Halo. They halo him.
Yeah.
And they halo him and say, you're under arrest for the murder of Leo Crow and Danny Whitwer. And that's the last thing he hears as he goes under.
But
so scary.
I did not do.
And then we're basically at the last stretch of the movie. What happens, Lacey?
Zaddy Grandpa is going to, I think, some sort of award ceremony. I think he's getting honored for something.
Pre-crime is now going national.
Oh,
and he's going to be in charge of it. Yes. At the big crime exchange.
Ah, yes. Mama, I don't remember, my love.
All right. Well, Tom Cruise, he gets put under, and Gideon, though he doesn't explain what happened to you, he's like, they say it's a rush. All your dreams come true, which is horrifying. And
who's saying that? Who's coming back?
Right. But people have to be coming back. Yeah. There's this Star Trek episode where I think it's on Deep Space Nine. Sorry, Star Trek people. Where there's like a form of prison where you get sent to a prison, but it's just a hallucination, and time passes for you there in real time. Like you're sentenced to 20 years, so you will experience 20 years of time. But then when it's done, they pull you out, and only 1 second of time in the real world has passed. And that's fucked up to think about.
God, I said fucked up to think about.
But it's also
everybody else is just like, what's your problem?
Yeah.
Why are you acting all weathered and wise and shit?
But also, like, I guess.
How'd you get these tattoos around your eyeballs? How's that?
But isn't that like more humane because it means your family doesn't have to experience the physical loss of you, just the emotional trauma you're going to have to carry around with you?
It's like war, right? I mean, they don't really experience war either, and you come back as a vet and you're forever changed because you saw her atrocities that you can't explain, and you're weathered even though they're like becoming the president of the United States. Like they leave 20 years older. They don't leave 4 years older or 8 years. I guess it's like, yeah, I think it's a valid way to serve your time, but maybe it should be optional.
I just think like, I'm not a fan of prison, but like to me, if you have to do something to somebody, make them wear a fucking ankle bracelet and make them stay home, unless it's domestic violence. But like,
oh, it'll turn into that.
Oh,
you think
okay.
20 years of being on an ankle bracelet doesn't make you mean?
I love Max von Sydow, Lamar Burgess. He's getting dressed for the big gala tonight because it's the big moment of triumph for him in his career. His life's work has been leading to this. And she says, Laura comes to visit him, and she says,
Because that's his daughter for some fucking reason.
Hey, I thought you were retiring. And he's like, well, I was going to, but I think the nation needs me, which is what all these old fucks do. They just cling to power forever. And he accidentally lets slip that he knows that Anne Lively drowns, and she didn't mention anything about her drowning because she's like, who's Anne Lively? Tom Cruise was talking about her right before he got haloed. And yeah, Max von Sydow lets slip that she drowns, and this makes Laura suspicious, and Lamar knows that she knows, and she knows that he knows that she knows, and he gives her the most scary stare, and he's like, we'll talk about this later. Perhaps tomorrow I'll come to the cottage.
All the windows are busted out. Bring
It's not a good time.
Bring trash bags and blankets.
It's not a good time.
It's winter.
Can we meet at a Starbucks?
Right.
Yeah, but he leaves the office and there's a box of evidence of her husband's, including his eyeball. So she's like, oh, okay. And she uses that to go sneak down to Tim Blake Nelson. She's like, I need to talk to my husband. So she busts John out, and together they hatch this plan to play the footage, see what happened. Is Lamar Burgess actually killed Anne Lively? And the way he did it was Anne Lively, former drug addict mother of Agatha, now says, I've gotten my act together. Can I please have my daughter? And he's like, no, that will ruin everything. So he hires somebody to kill her. And then when he sees the vision of how she'll be killed, he hires somebody to do that. And then when that guy gets caught and then the cops leave the woman still there at the scene, once they're all gone, he goes and kills her for real, but in the exact same way. And they have footage of this that they got from Samantha Morton, and they play it, and everybody at the party sees it, and they're like, oh my God, murder!
It's like, it would just, in this kind of technological world, I think it would take a lot more for them to be like convinced of what they're seeing on the screen. But yeah, it's like any amazing comeuppance ending. It's like,
people in movies are very quick.
I killed the teen queen. Get over it. I killed the teen queen. I'm sorry, seeing Jawbreaker. And
it is like job. Yes.
Yes. They just record her on the little, I killed the team dream. The team dream. Get over it. And then, no, you bitch.
I remember on the Jawbreaker episode making this comparison to Batman Returns when they play Oswald Cobblepot. And everybody's like, what'd you say about Gotham City?
Poor Oswald. He already had a bad life.
He did. He's just doing his best.
He loves fish.
Yeah. So finally, Tom Cruise confronts his mentor and he's like, you can kill me, but if you do, you'll prove that free crime works, but then it'll be undermined because you're the boss and you killed somebody or something. I don't know.
He says something clever. He's like, you really put me into a pickle.
So he kills himself instead. But then there's some very convenient voiceover. So I think that
was the day I killed myself.
That was the moment I knew it was over. Death had come for me.
Okay, come on.
I feel like we've not been clear on what happens right here.
I don't think we've been clear on much of this movie. There's so much about it. I don't think this is a movie that you just listen to cold. You'd have to have seen it.
I know. I think we're usually pretty good at explaining movies for people who haven't seen them.
I do too. And there's something about this movie that is so interesting to think about, which is what makes it so good, that keeps leading us astray and like going big brain on it.
But it is also like super plotty because it's like a noir. It's a neo-noir with all kinds of twists and turns.
Action, sci-fi, whodunit. It's a lot of movies in one without it seeming like a hodgepodge, which is hard to do.
The other thing that Spielberg starts to get bad at this point in his career is he always ends his movies like 2 minutes later than he should. It's like there's always like, scene. Oh, this is a perfect way to end the movie, and then he's like,
right,
one more.
I want Laura to get pregnant with a baby.
Right. It's like when your kid like starts to realize they're funny, but then says one joke too many.
No. It's like when your kid's not funny, but then they land on something that is funny. You laugh, and then they just keep fucking saying it.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. There you go.
You stop.
Here, Tom Cruise suddenly has narration in the movie. He's like, the pre-crime experiment ended in 2054.
Now I'm just a fucking cop.
Here I am with my wife. She's giant pregnant. We're super happy. Look at us watching the rain. The precogs, they were moved to an undisclosed location where they could explore their gifts.
Yes, they ruined it. I didn't need to know what they were going to do. They're just in this remote fucking cottage or cabin.
Cottage.
And Agatha does not look happy with her pile of books. Like she's just, I guess I'm reading the rest of my fucking life.
Yeah.
What?
And that's their gifts. Their gifts are I can read now.
I can read pretty good.
Hey, I bet I know how this book ends.
Oh, you're right. How boring.
But they're a hive mind, so they're all reading what each other's reading.
Oh, God. She needs to read the book backwards. I bet I can guess how this starts.
I guess the rationale was like, Samantha Morton's performance is so powerful. We've really invested in this character. We want to know that she's okay.
She doesn't look okay. That's my problem. Like the problem is they don't sell that, but maybe that makes it more realistic.
And then there's just a weird shot of the camera pulling out of the cottage as she reads, and then weird helicopter shot of the cottage, and that's where the movie ends. It's interesting that hers is the last face we see in the movie, not Tom Cruise. But yeah, it's like this ending's really, really bad. But I love this movie. It's like it's like the one thing I don't really like about the movie. But yeah.
All right. Hey, look, it's the eye that gets scanned.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Nate.
This movie's all about eyes. Can you see?
It is. It's about surveillance with eyes and surveillance because of eyes.
What are your final thoughts on Minority Report and star rating?
I don't think it could be made again because I don't understand how he thought all these things would make sense in one movie, but they do. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I remember liking it, and then I watched it. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. I would recommend this to a friend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's a 4.
A 4 stars.
I think so.
Yeah.
I forgot to letterbox it. Damn.
But you're Letterboxd Lacey.
I know.
I give it 5 stars. I love this movie. I've given all 3 of the movies we've watched so far 5 stars. But these are all top 10 Spielberg movies. I think it's a better movie than Jurassic Park. I think this is like top notch. I think it's a worthy successor to Blade Runner and Total Recall. I don't know if I like it as much as those movies, but I really love it. I love Tom Cruise in this movie. I love the imagination. I think Spielberg is less interested in the sci-fi philosophy and the questions that are raised by the Philip K. Dick short story, but he is so excited by the possibilities that he can do with this world.
Well, he does what he does, right? He is actually more interested in what do these technologies, how do they affect people? Mm-hmm. Like, not advanced society, but what's the collateral damage?
This is now a part of our lives. What does it mean? Like, how does it mean that we live day to day, and how do those things change, and how do they stay the same? 5 stars for me, top notch. I really liked this movie when I was a teenager. I watched it a lot. I finally revisited it 2 years ago for my big Spielberg ranking, and it had jumped away. I did not remember it being this good, and yeah, I'm just blown away by this. This is like just top notch action filmmaking and top notch sci-fi. Okay, what's next for this podcast for the summer of Spielberg?
You know what? You put that we're off next week, but you're gonna make me do something. You're gonna make me do something.
I'm not gonna make you do something.
I know you're gonna make me do something.
No, nothing.
So we're off.
I mean, do you want to do something?
No! I got our kids in a play. It's all consuming. So bye.
Should we do a podcast about the play? Should we review the play?
5 stars.
Final thoughts and star rating for the play. Yes, July 5th, we are taking the week off. The summer of Spielberg is 3 episodes and then a week off, 3 episodes and then a week off. So July 5th, we are taking the week off. I do plan to release Load Bearing Clips Volume 2, so another clip show. And
we'll put little doodaloo or something so that, you know, when now Matt is talking and precog Matt is playing a clip, because it kind of ran together for me. I enjoyed it, though.
Which I was like, how can that be? Because in the present, I talk like this. But in the past, I'm like, okay. And dude, where's my car? They have an ostrich. But next week.
We're going back to the hits. July 12th, we're going Raiders of the Lost Ark.
What movie is this?
It's got a little man in it. Someone you might know from Star Wars.
I like movies about a man.
And boy, is he a man.
Episode 121 is Raiders of the Lost Ark. July 12th.
He can raid this
2024. Ark. He can raid this
this whip. Noah's boat.
He can
stop trying to do what I'm saying.
Shut up.
God. All right. Continue.
All right. We always intended to do an Indiana Jones movie for the summer of Spielberg. The question was which one? I was like, do we put it up to a poll? They're all kind of interesting to talk about, but we're just going to go with the best one, because I think any of the sequels we would talk about, we would also have to talk about Raiders and the history of Indiana Jones.
And you're smuggling them in at that point, man.
Right.
Which you do.
I do. We'll probably do this show's going to go forever. This podcast.
Yeah. Well,
so we'll probably talk about each of the Indiana Jones movies in the future.
I'll replace you with AI when I need to. Tell a friend.
Tell a friend about this podcast. We're growing. We'd like to grow more and faster. We're hungry. We
want to get
greedy.
Paid. We're on the cusp, people.
So subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, on Spotify, on Overcast, wherever, and you can also watch us on YouTube at Load Bearing Beams Pod. The show is the same in audio and video form, but do whichever one you like.
Okay.
You can follow the show on Twitter at Load Bearing Pod, or me personally at Matt Stokes 9. You can follow the show on TikTok at Load Bearing Beams, or follow me on TikTok at Matt Stokes 9.
Okay. this show's TikTok is me personally. So they can follow me personally and what's going on with the show at load.bearing.beams.
There you go.
On TikTok.
We're on Instagram at Load Bearing Beams. I am on Letterboxd at Matt Stokes 9.
I am on Letterboxd at Load Bearing Lacey.
Yeah. And my band does the music for the show, including the Summer of Spielberg theme song. Thank you so much to Wade Email and TJ Barons for helping us make that.
And to Lacey Roth.
And to Lacey Roth for singing on it. And our album is called The Joy of Averages. You can hear it on Spotify, Apple Music, and everything else. That's all.
Okay, I love you. Goodbye.
Look at this Dino Lab. I hope it pleases Dr. Alan Grant. The system runs on Unix OS. The Dennis Nedry station is a mess. And this is Dr. Henry Wu. I want to clone him, so I will have to. He helped me come up with this Raptor X. I like to be there for when they first hatch. This is my electric fence. To build it, I spared no expense. We control all that the dinos eat, and they depend on us to get lysine. We clock the T-Rex, she runs fast. When she gets close, look out your water glass. Not get hunted by a clever girl. Oh, life finds a way. Every time we take the guests out on the park tour, every time that we can't find the damn Dilophosaur, I start to say that chaos theory is right. Every hurricane that hits knocks the power off. Every DNA sequence we completed with the frogs, that goddamn Malcolm's chaos theory is right. Look at this Dino Lab. I hope it pleases Dr. Alan Grant. I really, really hope it pleases. It's right up your alley.